The world is a book, and those who don't travel read only a page. Welcome to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour. On tonight's show, we'll be talking about travel, tips, tricks, and techniques to book your next perfect vacation. And whether that's a staycation that's close to home, or some exotic destination on the other side of the globe, or maybe you just want to assume the starfish position in the sand for a week, this is the show for you. It's my pleasure to introduce our panel of guests to you tonight. First, I'm delighted to welcome Ottawa's premier romance and foodie travel specialist, Cindy Almond. Cindy helps people experience the world through romantic and foodie experiences, and she specializes in special occasion travel. She's been to 29 countries, more than 100 hotels, 10 cruise ships, and counting. Welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming. Next, I'd like to welcome Ottawa-based travel writer Laura Byrne-Paquette. She's written about activities as diverse as firing a 19th century cannon right here in Ontario, eating guinea pig in Peru, and taking art lessons in Grenada. And she's written about those experiences for more than 80 publications and websites, including her own blog, ottawaroadtrips.com. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thanks.
Later on in the show, we'll be joined by Terry Lynn Kunipowski in a telephone interview. She's the editor-in-chief of Canadian Traveller. That's a top-selling travel magazine on newsstands across the country. So make sure you stick around for her take on the hottest travel trends for Canadians in 2018. And don't forget to call us at 613-728-1001 if you have any questions you'd like to ask our guests, or maybe a travel story of your own that you'd like to share. We're excited to hear from you. Laura, I'd like to start with you. Your foray into the written word, your beginnings, was sort of inauspicious. Tell us what happened.
This is going way back when I was born. That's about as far back as I can go. My birth announcement appeared in our local newspaper in the classified sections where, you know, you normally see the birth announcements, but instead of under births, it was listed under livestock for sale.
Oh my goodness.
So that's been a family joke for a long time now.
And yet you still became a writer.
Yeah, I guess it did, you know, got me interested in newspapers, I guess.
So you traveled the world, but local travel is more of your forte, and you specialize in some hot spots there within a 3-hour drive from Ottawa. You've actually sent us some beautiful photos of some of your favorite destinations, and maybe we could pull those up and we can talk about some of your favorite spots. So what's happening here in this photo?
Oh, that is actually the sort of mechanical room, believe it or not, for Bolt Castle, which is in the Thousand Islands. It's on the U.S. side. The castle itself is like 4 times that size at least.
Wow.
It's just an amazing property to explore. It was abandoned for many years, and it's being restored room by room, and they're almost done. And it's just a great place to go on a boat cruise out of Gananoque or Rockport.
Absolutely gorgeous. And how long would it take us to get there from Ottawa?
To get to Gananoque, it's about an hour and a half, and then the boat cruise there and back takes a couple of hours.
That's amazing, because when I first saw that photo, I thought it was some medieval castle in Germany. It looks like a fairy tale. Okay, and so you sent us a few other places as well. What's going on here?
Oh, this is very cool. This is up in Lanark County. It's a fairly new attraction. This gentleman's name is Chad. I'm going to blank his last name.
Is he the owner of the property?
Yes, and what he does is he does this thing called soundscaping, where he goes out into the forest with a special kind of microphone that he shoots up into a tree with a bow and arrow and an amplifier, and then he brings people out there, and you put on headphones and you lie back in hammocks and you listen to the sound of the forest, the animals and the birds. It's all amplified, so you feel like you're up in the trees, and you close your eyes. It is the most amazing thing.
This sounds amazing. Where exactly is it again?
It's in Lanark County.
Okay.
I should have gotten the name of the company, but...
How far is that from Ottawa?
Oh, not very far. Probably about an hour and a bit to get there.
Okay, and so if we Googled Lanark County and... Soundscaping, we'll be able to find it. Is it open year-round?
Yes.
Okay. And you sent us a few other photos. Let's pull those up. This looks like a canoe.
This was actually a special canoe trip that was being done last year for Canada's 150. But this is one of the locks on the Rideau Canal system called Chaffee's Lock. And it's just a really cute little village around this lock. You can go to the Pinnacon Hotel, which has just been restored by the owner of Shopify and his wife.
Really
have invested in it and brought it back to life. You can canoe along the canal. There's a company there where you can rent bicycles or They will pack a picnic for you. They will take you on a canoe trip. They'll take you on a pontoon boat.
I love that. You don't have to do any prep at all.
No, you just buy your tickets and show up. They'll even fly you in there by helicopter.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, and you sent us a photo of biking through Aylmer, was it?
Yes, that's a company here in Ottawa called Escape Bicycle Tours.
Okay.
They do trips all around the National Capital Region. They're for visitors, but they're also for locals. Like, we ended up going, that's the far side of Aylmer. I didn't know that area at all, and it's very beautiful. And the woman who runs it knows all the local history. It's a great way to spend the day.
I almost think this is a vineyard in France. Like, these are such amazing gems, real hidden treasures. I've never heard of any of those places.
Great. Yeah, I know there's a lot to see around here.
Yeah. Now, Cindy, for people who just want to get out of Dodge, you're the go-to gal. You're a travel agent.
Yes.
And in this day and age where everything is sort of self-serve and digital and available online, what would you say to people about why they should go with a travel agent? What's the value in that?
Well, there's so much information online right now that it can be very overwhelming.
Tell me about it.
So it's a great tool to do a lot of research to get a sense of the place and what's available. But when you really want to come down to actually booking something, it's important to go through someone who's booked it before, been there, knows other travel agents who've been there, has been there themselves for sure. And so that person can help you sort through all of that information that's online and help you make the decision that's best for you, because while a resort may be 5-star, it might not be the 5-star resort for you. So a travel agent will ask you the right questions to find out what your preferences are, so that we can guide you towards the properties and the places that really suit what you're looking for.
I mean, let's talk about the value of those face-to-face relationships in today's world. You know, there's nothing quite like old school. Sometimes I feel like it's the best school. I mean, let's talk about our love-hate relationship with websites like TripAdvisor. I know, Laura, you have some strong opinions on TripAdvisor. I know when I'm looking for the best hotel or the best destination and I'm wading through all these reviews, it sometimes feels like everyone just gives 4 or 5 stars indiscriminately, and you're never sure whether someone has maybe been offered a discount or maybe has even been hired by the property to write a review. It seems like you said, Cindy, there's nothing quite like that face-to-face connection with someone where they don't really have an incentive to exaggerate or lie to you about, you know, where you should go or what you should experience. What do you think about that, Laura, as a travel writer?
TripAdvisor is hit or miss. I tend to, if I'm looking, I mean, it's great. It's a great resource. Sometimes you find out about places you've never heard of. I tend to look at the top reviews and the bottom reviews and think, okay, the real truth is probably somewhere in the middle, because there'll be people who say this is wonderful, the best thing I've ever experienced, and there'll be other people who say this place had, you know, nothing redeeming about it. And I think, okay, neither one is probably right. Yeah. But you have to wade through a lot of reviews to get to that point, and sometimes I'd rather just have someone who is going to give objective, quick, clear advice.
Yeah, and we were chatting about this earlier, Cindy. Sometimes people have incentives for posting or not posting on TripAdvisor.
That's right. Sometimes hotels, if there are issues and they offer compensation to a client, the catch is that they're not supposed to post a negative review about their experience. So in order to get the compensation for whatever issue might have happened. And just to speak to your point as well, before I became a travel agent, which was 7 years ago, I thought TripAdvisor was the law. And I used to really, oh, there can't be anything unless it's in the top 10. And I quickly realized after having become a travel agent and traveling and visiting a lot of places that something that might fall in the middle is very appropriate and acceptable for most people. And it's really understanding what someone's looking for and matching them to the right property, because the review's not going to tell you that. Someone who posted a 1-star review wasn't looking for what they arrived at, and they probably didn't book with a travel agent.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of scenario. But we have a caller on the line. Julie, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for watching. Did you have a question for us tonight?
I do. So, I mean, I'm not a big traveler, but I'd kind of always like to do it, but by myself. I was just wondering, like, what is a safe destination for me to go as, like, a single woman?
Good point.
My number one choice for that, actually, when someone calls in, I'd say there's two good options. Cruising right now is a really great option for a single woman or single person. A lot of the cruise lines are now coming out with solo cabins, so the fares are better for those cabins. They're smaller, intended for just one person. And on a lot of cruise lines, they have solo traveler coordinators. So what that means is that there's someone assigned in a set time frame where you can meet up with these people in a lounge, and all of the solo people will be there, or those who want to attend, obviously, and they'll set up times where you can go to dinner with people, you can go to shows with people, maybe you'll connect with these people and go and do an excursion off ship. And the ships are set up so great, there's so many dining options, there's so much entertainment, so many bars. It's very easy to meet up with people and to make new friends on a cruise ship. So that'd be one really great option. Another would be going on escorted tours, organized tours. So whether it's Europe, Central America, the US, Canada, you can join coach tours, which are really comfortable buses, a small or large group, and that way you're traveling with other people, so you get to experience something with others rather than doing it alone. If you're more independent, we can actually set you up with something. A travel agent can work with you to customize an itinerary just for you if you prefer to travel alone as well.
And really quickly, Laura, because we're about to go to break soon, what are some of your favorite destinations to travel solo, and have you been solo?
Yes, I travel solo a lot when I'm working. The Maritimes. People in the Maritimes and or the Atlantic provinces, Newfoundland as well, very friendly, very laid back. It's very safe. Lots of great restaurants, things to do. That would be a really good choice.
And what about outside of Canada?
Ireland. Again, it has that same sort of feeling of, very friendly and low-key and welcoming. That would be a really great choice as well.
Does that answer your question, Julie?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. Have a great night.
You too.
We have 1 minute before we are going to break, but I'd like to maybe quickly address what you should look for in a travel agent. How do you know that your travel agent is the right one for you?
You could start with asking if they've been to the destination that you're wanting to go to, but that's not necessary all the time, because we're connected through Facebook now with all of the social media to thousands of other travel agents who might have been to that destination. So if we're not familiar with something, we know someone who is, and we're connected to tour operators who have experts in each destination. However, obviously, if someone's been there, they have a bit more background to add to it. I would also say just it's really a vibe. So call a few travel agents, have a conversation with them over the phone.
Chemistry is really important.
That's right.
We're just about to go to break. When we come back, we'll talk about the best way to find the best rate for your next hotel, trip, or adventure locally or abroad. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
I'm Paula Roy, and I'd like to invite you to join me in my kitchen each week as I share with you my favorite recipes, hints, and tips.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to over 2,000 out-of-market regular season games, with most games available in HD. Don't miss the action from the games you want from both the American and National Leagues. MLB Extra Innings, part of the Super Sports Pack, the ultimate package for the hardcore sports fan. Order through your remote on Channel 431 today.
And I'm Dylan Black. Join us right here Thursday daytime. Rogers Television live at 1 o'clock with repeats at 6 and 11. It's a special show. We have the award-winning Jim Cuddy. Of course, he's with Blue Rodeo, but he's in town performing with the Jim Cuddy Band. The National Arts Center will hear his new song, and we'll have a chat. Jim Cuddy going to be joining us right here on Daytime Ottawa Thursday. We're live at 1. Repeats at 6 and 11. Don't miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun, as always.
Uninterrupted coverage of speeches from Ottawa's business leaders, visionaries, and social figures. Watch new episodes of Podium at its new time, Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m., exclusively on Rogers TV.
back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and I have special guests with me in the studio tonight, travel experts Cindy Almond and Laura Byrne-Paquette. We're talking travel tips for your next vacation, and according to the latest research, Canadians love to travel. In fact, we spend $35 billion on outbound travel every year. Those are some amazing stats. Now, Laura, I'd like to hear from you as an avid travel writer. What are your tips and tricks for finding the best rate on a hotel? Because I feel like it can be all over the map.
It can be all over the map. The same room, just as like an airline seat, can cost you wildly different prices depending when you go. If you have some flexibility in when you go, a great idea is to go in the shoulder seasons. If you want to see somewhere that is really popular in the summer, maybe think about going in September or October or May. You'll get a better deal. And be conscious of when there's something big in town, like a festival or like somewhere like Kingston. If it's graduation weekend for Queens, you are not going to get a hotel within 50 miles.
Makes sense.
So.
Yeah. And Cindy, you had some myths that you wanted to dispel about the idea of getting better deals on websites.
Yeah, so a lot of clients come to me and they think that working with a travel agent is more expensive, or that they, well, I saw a deal on X website. The reality is, when it comes to particularly all-inclusives, there is one big pot of inventory, and those websites, travel agents, they're a travel agent, we're a travel agent, we're all booking from that same inventory. So if you're looking at the very same moment for the very same thing, whether you go on that website, that website, that website, or call your travel agent, we're going to have the same price. So ultimately, there is absolutely no harm to working with a travel agent if you want some advice, because there could be 20 hotels within a certain price point. How do you know which one's the best one for you? And that's what a travel agent is for, not just for a deal, but to help you choose and to give you advice on what's the best choice for you.
I've had the experience where I was booking a trip to somewhere in Asia, and I actually got the best deal through a travel agency in Chinatown. They had the lowest rate of anywhere.
Yeah, and again, it could have been the timing that you went as well. Had you asked at that same moment somewhere else, it could have been the same price, because generally speaking, we all have access to the same companies. But the thing is, there's also a whole host of companies that only work with travel agents. So if you're looking online, you're only seeing a small segment of what's actually available in the large world of travel. Travel agents have a whole set of contracts for flights. We have contracts for hotels that don't actually appear online. So often we can get better deals, and if not the very same price you're seeing online. So use the benefit of an expert to help you choose the hotels and the trips that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Now we have a caller joining us on the line. Kim, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us. Did you have a question for our guest tonight?
Yes, I do have a question. I was thinking about what's the best possible way to budget your vacation or traveling would be. If your income varies from month to month, what tips would you suggest?
Laura, I'm sure as a freelance writer, you can relate to that.
Right. One way that works is to get a little bit of money taken out of your account every month automatically, put it in an account that you can't touch easily, that you can't get to with your bank card. It doesn't have to be a lot, and it's enough that you won't even notice, but over 6 months or a year, it'll build up to a point where you've got enough to take a nice weekend away.
What do you think, Cindy?
Well, this speaks to a point I wanted to bring up a little later, but maybe having a plan. So setting yourself up with a 5-year plan for travel. So what are your goals? Where do you want to go? And sitting with a travel agent to get a rough estimate of what that's going to cost, so that you know how much you need to set aside in order to be able to do that in 2019 and 2020, and to have a sort of a plan. That way, just like a financial plan, you would set aside a certain amount, like you said, for your travel budget in advance. Are
there things to keep in mind given how much might change with a certain destination, politically speaking, or a lot of things could change in 5 or 10 years too, right? Like how do you allow for that in your planning?
There's a lot of destinations where not a lot does change. So I guess it would depend on what's on your bucket list for sure. Yeah. But we could always adjust. I mean, sometimes client thinks that they want to go here, or they have a top 3, so we could always make a change based on what the client's looking for.
Perfect. Thank you so much for calling in and for joining us, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Now, you're a big foodie, Cindy, and we're around the supper hour, and I want to make sure our viewers are as hungry as possible. So let's pull up some of the photos that you shared with us as some of your top foodie experiences. And now some of these experiences are also tours that you can arrange for your clients as well. So what kind of deliciousness do we have going here?
So this is one of the greatest lunches with a view that I've ever had at a place called Mango Tree Restaurant at Stonefield Villa Resort.
And where is this?
This is in St. Lucia.
Ooh.
So those that mountain that you see there, those are the famous pitons that you see a lot in the marketing material for St. Lucia.
Mm-hmm. And what are you eating here?
So that was a fish meal. I don't remember exactly, to be honest. It was my friend's meal. I had a jerk chicken sandwich at the time, but his meal looked better.
Oh, no, so true, so true. And what have we got next? What have we got here?
Okay, so this was an amazing experience. I went to Thailand and Vietnam in June of this year, and this is in Hoi An, and it's a fishing village sunrise tour. So what they do is they pick you up on a boat, and we just so happened to be the only two who booked, so it was a private tour. And they took
I love it when that happens.
I know, it was awesome. Yeah. So we were going with the boat, and we got to watch all of the fishermen, and it's really interesting because it's not the same as the fishermen that we see here on the same type of boats. It's really a husband and wife team in a small little barge fishing, and then they bring you to where the actual sort of action happens, where all the fish is coming in and vendors are wanting to buy, and it's sort of a rat race. And then we walked around and we were able to buy fish and some shrimp and different things and brought it back on the boat, and they cooked it for us right there, and we had fish for breakfast, fresh on a boat at sunrise. It was amazing. We even got to reel up. You see that big reel, big fishing net right there? Yeah. They showed us how to reel it in like in the old days as well.
Amazing. And how much did that tour cost you?
I believe it might have been 120, but yeah, I don't really recall actually.
It seems like a really good deal. Yeah. And what have we got next here?
Okay, this is also in Hoi An, so Hoi An was a highlight for me. Mm-hmm. This was a cooking class. Okay. So they picked us up, and they brought us to the market. We bought the things that we needed. Then they took us on a boat tour again, and we were able to fish crabs. And then they brought us to the location where they do the cooking class. Mm-hmm. We got to make rice paper. We made soup. We made wraps. We made all kinds of things. It was really amazing.
Cooking classes are a big part of the culture in terms of activities that you can do while you're traveling in East Asia, I find in my experience. Yeah. And I think you sent us one more photo of your foodie experiences, or was that it?
Was that okay? Remember? Oh yes, actually yes. So so I wanted to bring up the point that a lot of people think that all-inclusives don't have good food, and yes, okay, it's mass-produced and whatnot, but this is from, excuse me, in February. I went to an all-inclusive called Azul Beach The Fives, and these are photos from an all-inclusive resort. Everything was amazing. I couldn't stop raving after being there for 5 days at how great the food was. Thai food that tasted just like the food I had in June in Thailand. One night they had an Indian buffet. My friend is married to an Indian man, and she said it tasted just like it does in India.
Lucky woman.
Yeah.
And tell me again what the name of the resort was?
Azul Beach The Fives.
And that's in Mexico?
That's in Mexico. It's a family resort.
And I think we have one more foodie photo after this.
Okay, yes. This was amazing. This is the trip that catapulted me into becoming a travel agent. I had such an amazing time planning this trip for my mom and my sister for my mom's 50th birthday. This is a place called Mama Agata's. It's in Ravello on the Amalfi Coast. And it was a cooking class where you sort of helped them prepare the meal, and we made about 5 courses, I think, and then we all sat at that outdoor patio and sat there and ate everything that we made. It was amazing. It was spectacular.
Why are we still here, Cindy? We should all
I don't know. Let's go.
We've got a caller. Jennifer, are you on the line with us?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us. What was your question?
I was just wondering in regards to, say, like a student who's just graduating and wants to plan like a graduation travel trip somewhere, if you had any tips or advice on how to stay safe or how to save money or good places to go.
Yeah, for that demographic, what are some considerations?
Were you planning to travel as a group or just alone?
It could be either or. We're still trying to figure things out.
So if you can get 8 adults, so 8 people over 18 to travel with you, you can get a group rate. So you'll get a better rate than what's published online if you can convince a few friends to go. If you're on a budget and you want an all-inclusive experience, Cuba and Puerto Plata are usually 2 of the top destinations for affordability versus quality. So those could be two destinations you might want to focus on. You should talk to a travel agent and have them help you out and choose a destination based on what you like to do, because there's certain hotels that have kite surfing and water skiing, and if you're into that, that's great, but if you're not, you might want to go to somewhere that's more quiet, or if you're looking for a party time, then that's a certain set of resorts that are more focused on a party atmosphere as well.
What do you think, Laura?
When I graduated from Carleton, a roommate and I got train passes on Via and went out west and back. You can also get great train passes for Europe and other destinations, and I would recommend that. I don't know if I could sleep sitting up 3 nights in a row and coach now, but I could do it when I was 22.
Does that answer your question, Jennifer?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. And we talked a lot about food and some of Cindy's favorite places around the world. What about you, Laura? What are some of your favorite places closer to home for a yummy meal?
I mentioned Kingston earlier. Kingston has an amazing a number of restaurants per capita, some very, very good ones. But just near Kingston, Prince Edward County is amazing. There's a place called the Waring House Inn in Picton that does cooking classes. Right now, actually starting August 6th, April 6th goes all month. Prince Edward County has this festival called Countylicious.
Countylicious.
That sounds good.
Where all of a bunch of restaurants get together and they offer these like set price menus with 3 courses. That's always a lot of fun. The Finger Lakes region of upstate New York is very big for wineries. They have a culinary institute in, I believe it's in Geneva on one of the lakes.
Really?
In the Finger Lakes, Geneva, New York, which is also amazing. So those are 2, if you like cooking classes, those are 2 great destinations. And Montreal, of course.
Of course.
You can't go wrong in Montreal.
Yeah.
I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, lucky.
How far is Finger Lakes?
Finger Lakes, to get to Geneva is probably about 4 hours. That's sort of the middle of the Finger Lakes.
And what about Picton and Prince Edward County?
3 to 3.5.
It's amazing what a wealth of places we have so close to us. It's incredible.
It really is.
Yeah. So I want to hear more about some of your experiences and some of your tips and tricks, but when we come back from the break in a minute, we'll be joined by Tara Lynn Kunapowski. She's the editor-in-chief of Canadian Traveler magazine, and she'll be sharing some of the hottest trends in Canadian travel in 2018. We'll be right back.
It's Carla from Carla in the Kitchen. Join me every week as I give away some of my top secret recipes. These smell so delicious. We'll see you in the kitchen.
Family, it's just extremely important. People move around. Connected for Success has just made it so much easier. For the longest time, I was on cloud 9. It connects you to family. It connects you to the outside world, and it makes you feel connected to the community. It was a whole new experience. You realize then how much you missed out. In fact, connect is my favorite word now. I love that word. It keeps me out of trouble.
What's the last thing you remember? What are you hiding?
This thing kills everyone. No secrets?
No secrets.
So why volunteer at Rogers TV? Well, it's fun, exciting, and challenging. You can develop practical, hands-on skills in TV production, make new friends, and have fun, all while giving back to your community. For a few hours a week, you can be part of a great team making great local television. Want to find out more? Get in touch with us at rogerstv.com. Make your mark and find a new passion as a Rogers TV volunteer.
Now I'm telling you to go, go, go. Now
Welcome back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and I'm in the studio tonight with special travel experts Cindy Almond and Laura Byrne-Paquette. I'm also pleased to introduce to you our third guest of the evening, who is joining us via telephone from Toronto. Her name is Terry Lynn Kunapaski, and she's based in Toronto, but she hails from the heart of Ottawa Valley. She's the editor-in-chief of Canadian Traveller. That's a top-selling travel magazine on newsstands across the country, and she also manages 2 other publications in the travel space. Are you with us on the line, Terry Lynn?
I am. Thank you so much for having me join you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, as the editor-in-chief of a major travel magazine, you're privy to some of the hottest trends in Canadian travel and probably travel across the globe, and I understand that cruising is a big part of that.
Definitely. We're seeing a lot of interesting innovation in terms of cruising, and I'm sure that Cindy is right there with me in understanding sort of these sort of things. Firstly, let's talk about river cruising, if that's okay, because
Absolutely.
there is definitely river cruising and then big ship cruising, which are 2 totally different experiences.
So maybe we can talk about river cruising first, and I know you sent us a couple of photos. We could pull those up while you're chatting.
Sure. Okay. So river cruising, actually, I got to experience it for the first time myself with a company called Avalon Waterways last September, and it was a really special experience for me because I got to bring my mom along, and we sailed from Amsterdam down the Rhine to Nuremberg, Germany. So you're seeing the ship right now that we were on called the Avalon Expression. And the really interesting thing about what we got to do, we got to participate in what Avalon launched relatively recently called Active Discovery Experiences. And so typically, the river cruise client is a lot more mature, a little bit older, not necessarily, the trips aren't necessarily catered to more active travelers. But what Avalon is essentially doing with this new kind of line of experiences is appealing to travelers who really want to be able to be active while experiencing new destinations. So,
now, would you bring your kids with you?
Kids?
Yeah, are kids welcome on river cruises, or is that a no-no?
Some of them have rules in terms of what ages. For example, AMA Waterways says that kids are allowed as a 4 years old, but recommends that they they recommend that they're 8 years old by the time that they join, just because the product isn't necessarily catered to kids, but definitely they're welcome on board in a lot of cases. I was definitely the youngest on board the particular cruising that I was on. And what's really neat about, so just getting it back to the trends, coming into the active space. So in Amsterdam, for example, with the active discovery journeys with Avalon, you can go running through Amsterdam. You can do a painting class, a Van Gogh painting class, which we got to do, or you could do a canal tour. So it kind of appeals to, there are different options when you're in these different ports that appeal to different interests.
And how expensive?
Whether you want to be active or discovery.
Sorry, how expensive are some of these cruises?
It really varies. It varies depending on the time of year you're going. It varies based on the kind of the river cruise company that you're sailing with. I'd probably defer that one to Cindy, because I'm not typically booking them. But I mean, I know that an Avalon cruise, though in the price in the range that we did, started at around $3,900, and that's starting at the most basic level.
And you're going right through the heart of the city, so I guess that holds a lot of appeal for people.
Yeah, I mean, you're stopping in places that are kind of off the tourist path. Like, they're not big city hubs. They're more so the quaint little villages and towns. So you kind of get to experience more local flavor, and you get to mostly avoid the crowds. But obviously, a lot of these places sometimes might have 1 or 2 other river cruise ships in port at the same time, but there's more of a local sense. So you're not necessarily stopping in big cities with the skyscrapers. It's very quaint and authentic small towns.
And how many people were on your ship?
Oh, Barbara, you're going to stump me with that one. I think that there's about 200. Cindy, do you know the capacity?
You know, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I would say probably 200 to 300 is a good ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about ocean cruises. Now, this is like an entirely different experience, as you mentioned. A lot more people, a lot bigger, a lot more things to do, and probably a lot more multi-generational friendly.
Yeah, so ocean cruising, it's kind of amazing how much evolution is taking place in the space right now. When you look at some of the way that ships are evolving in terms of their culinary offerings, you know, ocean cruising at a time, even not that long ago, was known for, you know, the food wasn't necessarily that great and the accommodation weren't necessarily that great, but everyone is kind of stepping up their game. So, for example, there's a new ship coming out called the Norwegian Bliss, and that's going to start sailing in November.
You sent us some photos. Maybe we could pull those up.
So I think that you should have photos. There's going to be a race car track on go-kart track on the Norwegian Bliss.
That's
also
pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's also going to be laser tag. There are these two massive water slides, so if you want to go head to head with somebody, there's that. And then you look at the magic carpet that's coming out on the new Celebrity Edge, which is basically a floating dock that kind of sails, well, I shouldn't use the word sails, but kind of rises and falls along the side of the ship. So you might be kind of sitting in an open air restaurant, and at one point you might be poolside, the next. So this magic carpet just kind of goes up and down the ship for different experiences. So it's pretty amazing, the sort of things that are going on in the cruise space. And yeah, just to tie into another trend, like you mentioned, multi-generational travel, and cruising is amazing for this because there is such a diversity in activity on board and then in port to appeal to different interests and age groups. So while the kids might want to join, go to the kids club and enjoy some experiences catered to them, mom and dad can go to the spa, grandma and grandpa might want to, do a spa or hang out on the lounge or whatever. There's just a lot of different activities on board. There's often a lot of classes now that you can partake in. So there's a lot to keep you busy as you kind of sail from one amazing destination to the next.
How do you deal with seasickness?
Oh boy. I guess it really depends on the time of year and what's going on, but people have their tricks.
Do you ladies have any trips?
Yeah, I know I don't get seasick, but a lot of clients that I see on cruise ships have either a patch or they have a copper bracelet or there's medicine that you can take. Also, cabin placement. If you think you may get seasick, then you want to be midship. You don't want to, so there's a different price point for each cabin, and if you're lower or towards the ends, it's going to be less expensive, but if you want less motion, you want to be midship.
Anything to add to that, Laura?
No, those are all the tips I've heard as well.
That's great. Since we've had a couple questions tonight about solo travel, let's talk about the rising trend of solo travel. I mean, there's a lot of people who are living on their own now, and with different schedules and budgets, it makes sense that people aren't waiting for other people to join them on a trip. What kinds of advancements are you seeing in this space?
Well, I think that people are just, especially, I think it was Julie that had called in to ask about this. I mean, we're just, women are typically, for the most part, making up the solo travel market. And, we have lots of reasons to just kind of take off and do our own thing. If our partner is, not interested or busy or whatever, like you say, people are just making those decisions that they don't need to travel with someone that they know. Like Cindy was saying, there's a lot of tour operators and in the cruise space that are catering to solo travelers, and tour operators as well are taking time to eliminate or minimize the single supplements to appeal to solo travelers. So what's really great about it, like Cindy was saying, is this ability to be able to join a group tour, to meet like-minded people, but without having to manage a relationship or, somebody who you're with. You can just kind of really be independent, but have the luxury of a group tour so you're not always trying to plan by yourself. What are you going to be doing? There's lots of options to appeal to the solo traveler, and I think it just has a lot to do with people just, embracing their independence and doing what they want when they want.
And Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to add a tip to that I didn't mention earlier, is that when it comes to solo travel and the no single supplement, often there's a certain percentage of those that they offer, and it's not always. So if you're thinking about doing something like that, plan ahead so that you're able to benefit from the rooms that might be available on no single supplement.
Okay, so book early to get those limited single supplement fares.
Definitely.
Okay, wonderful. We only have a couple minutes left before the end of our time together, Terry Lynn, but I know you've got some interesting events coming up, and of course I want to talk about your magazine. Maybe we can bring up the cover of your latest issue on the screen so people know where to look for it. Where can we find your magazine?
Sure, yeah. So we're on major newsstands across the country. You can find us at Loblaw, Superstore, Chapters, that sort of thing. And if you go to CanadianTraveler.com/subscribe, you could also subscribe and you'll get the magazine to your mailbox before it even lands on newsstands. So what you're seeing is our spring issue, which is out right now with a lot of really, really amazing stories. And we didn't touch on the trend of immersive travel, which means that people want to go into a destination to really experience the heart of it. Travel is so much about feeling things and not necessarily, those tactile moments, but it's what you feel in them. And that's what we try to achieve with the stories that we have in Canadian Traveler. It's kind of reaching deeper into the heart of a destination and, touching on that emotional side of travel, which is really what I think people are chasing when they book that ticket and go somewhere.
Yeah, they want to read something that appeals to them on a visceral and emotional level, and it sort of catapults them to make the decision to go themselves.
Exactly. So we want to inspire you.
And we just have a minute left before the end of our segment, but I believe you mentioned something about a subscription box or something like that?
Yeah, very exciting. So it's going to be our first one is going to be going out very soon. It's in partnership with SunQuest, and what we're doing is we're offering Canadians a chance to kind of experience the world at home. So every 3 months, with every issue of the new issue of the magazine, you will receive a box to your home, and there's going to be a surprise destination, and everything in the box will be from that destination. So it might be textiles, it might be food, that sort of thing, and you get to kind of take that, and we're going to be building challenges and a community on Facebook around the box to kind of see what people are going to do with their items and how they're going to use them and that sort of thing. So
thank you so much, Terry Lynn. That's a wealth of information. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great night. We'll be back in a minute after the break.
Hey, we're supposed to be at City Hall.
We're gonna build it right here.
Oh, yeah, sure. And give wetsuits to all the visitors?
No, on the water.
Hey, come on, we're talking about building something the size of 64 city blocks.
And there's no land left in Montreal.
So, get serious.
Listen, we'll build islands.
How? Dig up Montreal?
They're digging a subway, remember? You take it from there, and you put it here.
12 months and 25 million tons of fill later, St. Helens Island was reshaped and Ile Notre Dame was created.
Come on, we don't want to keep Mayor Drapeau waiting, do we?
Montreal's Expo 67. It would prove to be the most successful World's Fair of the 20th century.
It was John's graduation. We were so proud. We all got together for a picnic. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and we listened. It helped us get to safety. That's why when I think of John, because now he has a real future to look forward to.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and tonight we're talking all things travel with travel experts Cindy Almond and Laura Byrne-Paquette. Now, we have a couple of questions from Facebook viewers tonight. One is, what would be a destination to stay away from?
So that's a tough question. Essentially, what I would go by and what my recommendation would be to check voyage.gc.ca, which is a Canadian government website where any advisories are located. So you might want to check if there are any advisories where the government has advised Canadians not to travel. Sometimes, and that's important, where a travel agent can help you decipher the information that's there, because a lot has been going on in the news about don't go here, don't go to Mexico, don't go to Jamaica, and oftentimes it's a misconception about what has been said, and so a travel agent can explain what the warning or the caution is, rather than just don't go, because there's so many destinations where people are afraid to go, and yet after a discussion with me, they're going and they're having an amazing time. So I think it's more about checking if there is a warning that the government have given us not to travel there, and then having a discussion around that and making decisions from there.
And Laura, our next question, I think, is for you. We have a viewer who's wondering, where's a fun place to take your kids to around Ottawa? And her kids are a variety of ages. They're 2, 10, and 16. That seems tough.
Wow, well, that's a big age range, but I've got a couple of ideas. Head to Quebec. If you want a bit of a splurge, but it's worth it, the Fairmont Chateau Montebello has stuff for every age group. They have an indoor pool that is in this big old log building, which is really cool. They have activities of every description. In the winter, they have like dog sledding, I think. They have this preserve called Canuck. I never know how to say it, which is sort of like a wilderness preserve. Near Montebello, there's Park Omega.
I was waiting for you to mention that. I was going to mention it.
Yeah, Park Omega, which has, you could drive through to see all the animals, and you can actually stay there.
Really?
Yes, they have yurts or sort of tenty kind of things you can stay there. Yeah. So, and then if you go a little bit north of there and go to Tremblant, you've got every kind of accommodation you could imagine. Lots of, 2-3 bedroom condos that are great for families. You can do really cool things like falconry. You can fly a falcon. You can go zip lining. That's another great spot.
I'm so excited to go explore now. Now we have a caller on the line. Frederick, are you with us?
I am.
Hi, Frederick. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Did you have a question?
Yes, actually pertains to single travel, because I travel by myself. I was just wondering, what is the single most important thing I need to take care of before I leave to travel?
Good question. What do you think, Cindy?
In terms of preparing for the trip or preparing things at home?
Preparing for safety and for making sure that my trip doesn't get interrupted by mistakes, or if I lost things and stuff like that.
Well, always have the phone numbers of the hotels that you're going to, have a copy of your passport in several different locations, make several copies of your travel documents. So have one in your carry-on, have one in your suitcase, so that if you were to lose a bag or forget them on the plane, which has happened to me once before, that you have a second set with you. Make sure that someone home knows where you are, so that you can check in, that they have the phone number or the address of the hotel. Get internet if you want to be connected to the people back home, or don't get internet if you want to fully enjoy your experience. Maybe prepare your home so that it's not obvious that you've left, so that anybody who could be paying attention to that, have someone check your mail, have someone pick up your mail. Did you have anything to add to that?
A friend of mine who travels all the time by herself does exactly what you suggest. There's 2 friends first, the 3 of us, we have a little loop. She sends us her itinerary. She emails us when she gets to her hotel. I'm here. She emails us as she's leaving. She lets us know if there's any delays. So even if, for instance, she gets delayed by a day or 2, we could even call her office and say, this is what's happening, that kind of thing.
Perfect. Does that answer your question, Frederick?
Yes, very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Now, Cindy, there's some interesting and exciting things going on in your neck of the woods these days. You've got a fundraiser that you're sponsoring or giving something away, and you're also giving some prizes away to our lucky viewers tonight.
Yes, so this weekend, coming up on April 7th and 8th, is the Ottawa Wedding Show. So I do specialize in destination weddings and honeymoons, so I will be there. And I'm giving away 3 pairs of tickets, so you just have to email info@romanceandfoodietravel.ca. It is long, info@romanceandfoodietravel.ca. And just express your interest in the tickets, and then I'll be drawing on Friday afternoon 3 names to get the pairs of tickets, and you'll be able to pick them up directly at the show, which is going to be at the EY Center.
Fantastic. And there's a fundraiser that's coming up. You've sent us an image so we can maybe throw up on the screen with all the details. Stepping Out to 2018, what's that all about?
So Stepping Out is Dress for Success's fundraising event, and it's going to be on May 11th. You can purchase tickets on the website. It's steppingout.ca, and I think there's a tab at the top called Tickets. And what it is, my involvement in it is that I've curated a trip that's going to be given away, or sorry, not given away, but auctioned. So you can auction, bid, I guess, on the trip. It's going to be a 4-night stay at Stonefield Villa Resort in St. Lucia, including transportation, a lunch for 2 overlooking the Pitons.
That's the foodie lunch that you showed us.
Yes,
right?
the first image that we showed, that is going to be what you're experiencing if you were to win the trip. And there's also going to be a hike up a nature trail and a mud bath experience.
That's amazing. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful package. Now, Laura, you brought in some props to show us. What have you got there? So I see that you've got a book that you've written, Wanderlust.
Wanderlust, yes.
And where can we find it?
It should still be available on Amazon. It came out a few years ago. It's not strictly a travel guide. It is a book about the social history of travel.
Interesting.
So about the history of where passports came from and the history of train travel and travel insurance and package tours and cruise lines and all that kind of thing.
That's fascinating.
To speak to a certain point that I should have brought up to our call-in guest, travel insurance. It's always important to make sure you're protected when you travel.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
And what have you got in the middle here?
Okay, this is an interesting gizmo. I bought it from a company that has since gone out of business, but I think other places sell it. Okay. It's a thing that folds up. And it zips up. So when you get on the plane and you've got this big carry-on and you're like, oh, I want to take out my phone and my book and my glasses and my eye mask, and it's all over the place. You put it all in here.
Okay.
You can put your iPad in. There's a space for your glasses. There's spaces for, earplugs, anything you might want.
Yeah.
Then you zip it up and you put it in your bag. So when you get on the plane, you open it up and there's a strap here that straps it onto your tray table. So when you go to sleep, everything is there. You're not sitting on your glasses and your phone hasn't fallen on the floor.
And it's secure and it's in front of you.
Yeah, and it has a pocket for your passport back here.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's a great little gadget.
So how would you search for something like this, like online or in a store?
There's a lot of travel supply shops. I don't know if the luggage store on Wellington carries it, but luggage stores often carry things like this.
Fantastic. And I see you've got a third prop to show us, but we've got a caller on the line. I'd like to get to the caller first. Greg, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us. Did you have a question for our guests?
Yes, well, I guess I'm kind of thinking about my single daughter who likes to travel, and I'm just wondering, what kind of advice would you give this person when they want to travel to countries that maybe, what I consider maybe not the safest, because you always hear stories about single travelers, like, for example, places maybe like Cambodia, Thailand, or any other country that maybe there's corruption or, sometimes we hear things in the news. What kind of advice would you give a single female traveling in order to protect themselves, to stay safe while they travel and ease my worry at home?
Concerned parents.
Particularly with Thailand, I was just there in June, and I've never actually felt safer anywhere. As a female, we barely got any attention at all, to be honest. So in that perspective, I wouldn't be too concerned about Thailand and Southeast Asia. But depending on if she actually wants to travel alone, but if she wants to be with others, there are a lot of small group tour companies that are affordable and that target the young market. So go with a group of people, and you can still do it on the cheap if you want to travel and be more backpacker style, but do it with a group of guests. But I do know a lot of people who have done the backpacking thing and stayed in hostels, and that's a very nice environment for young travelers because they tend to hook up with other young travelers and end up continuing on their journeys with other travelers. So they're never really alone. They're always meeting up with new people and creating really relationships that last for a long time, and especially with social media these days, you can really stay connected with a lot of people when you travel. So, I mean, obviously keeping some information behind as to what her itinerary is intended to be, and if she's going to just go with the flow, then keep in touch with you and let you know where she is and what she's going to be doing so that you can sort of keep track of where things are. But I would say, you know, suggest some small group tours that she could do where she's with other people, but essentially not acting like you're alone and you're scared. Assume yourself as you're walking around. And I've walked around a lot of places alone where some people may have felt that I shouldn't have. And I feel like if you act like you belong there, that goes a long way to people not really bothering you.
Thank you so much for calling in, Greg. We only have a couple minutes left. So, Laura, I wanted to get to your last prop there.
Okay, this is, I travel a lot to write travel articles, so I am usually carrying a couple of cameras and an iPhone and a laptop and all their assorted bits and pieces. This is a thing you can buy at the Apple Store and various other places. All it is it's a flat board with a bunch of elastics on it that you can put in all your cords and your batteries and your chargers.
Because those get mixed up really easily.
And it's very adaptable. But things don't get tangled up, and you can see all in one place what you have, so you don't have this jumble of cords at the bottom of your camera bag.
That's a lifesaver. Thank you so much. Now, we only have a little bit of time left. Maybe we could pull up some of the photos that you sent us of some top destinations, Cindy, just for a little bit of inspiration. You know, let's talk a little bit about why it is that you travel. What do you love about traveling? I mean, these are some real bucket list trips that you've got here. A safari in Africa, and then we've got, I believe you sent us an image of the Tahiti.
Bora Bora, Tahiti, Moria.
Yeah. We only have a minute left, so maybe if you could just sum it up in sort of one sentence from both of you ladies, I'd love to hear about, you know, why is it that you travel?
Like the Canadian Traveler editor mentioned, it's really about a feeling. It's something that you can't really describe until you've actually experienced it. The minute I walk into the Ottawa airport, I just feel alive and I'm ready to go. So it's a feeling that you're after, and I think it's just a feeling of comfort, a feeling of escape, a feeling of exploration. So I'm looking for a feeling.
And Laura, really quickly?
I like to get shaken out of my everyday.
Your comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. You've been a wealth of information.
Thank you for having us.
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you in the studio next week.